Good morning. It is 9:04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen, I see you guys on the Members Nutrition Super Text line. We are having transmitter issues. It's getting a little skippy, but this is one of those days where it makes sense to download the app, watch on Super Talk TV. You can take us with you wherever you go with the TuneIn app, the iHeartRadio app. We have our own app. They're free. They're all in the App Store. And this is why we tell you guys, you gotta get the app. Some days there's technical difficulties. A lot of technical difficulties today. Cell phone outages all over the country. This is one of those times where it's weird to me. My wife sent me a text and she says, "Cell phone outages. What's going on?" So I responded back. I said, "It's lizard people."
That's it. It's got to be it.
So, this is one of those weird days where, I feel like I'm one of the calm voices in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to go full Russian space nukes.
Not yet.
But I think that the reason people hear this stuff and they overreact is because the trust in the government is gone. The trust in these big tech companies is gone.
Yeah.
So even something that we could find out this was as simple as a car took out a transmitter somewhere. I don't know what it could be. You know what I mean?
Maybe a bird built a nest.
It could be so simple as to why there are cell phone outages. But I have seen every theory in the world on the internet already this morning. I'm telling you guys, solar flares from the sun was one of them. Space weather. Space
weather?
Yeah, you want to Google that? You want to fact check
I'll
space
fact
weather?
check space weather.
I understand it's cold.
Space weather. I also saw China. Did you know that? It could be China.
China?
That's what I'm saying. It could be. Russia.
I wish I had a Trump hotkey of him saying Russia. I don't.
We should get one of Tucker doing it.
Oh, yeah. He's got it. Okay, great. Yeah.
Probably the move. Russia. Everything. So I'm settling on lizard people or nothing. Also, a lot of people were talking about the new Obama movie. What was it called? Is it like How the World Ends, or this is how the way the world ends?
Oh, yeah. That was on Netflix or whatever. Yeah.
They're like, this is how that Obama movie started.
Yeah. I don't think we have to worry until we see an oil tanker run aground.
I know.
Then maybe.
It's like, chill. I mean, and they say nationwide outages, so it sounds a lot bigger than it really is. But I'm getting texts from my dad in New Hampshire, My cousin's going to have a baby today.
Oh, yay.
She's got
Congrats.
twins coming.
Twins.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Sending prayers her way.
Yeah.
But, you get these calls because people don't trust the news. People don't trust the media.
Imagine that.
It's a strange time. And we see it locally here, too. WKRN, which is an ABC affiliate, basically ran a hit piece on our own Senator Bill Hagerty, who's joining us now on the Super Talk hotline. Senator, how are you, sir?
I am doing well. Glad to be back home in Tennessee after spending a few days down on our southern border and seeing the crisis that has evolved. I've been to our border in California, Arizona, Texas. This was a repeat trip for me back to Texas with a group of sheriffs and mayors, people who are feeling the ramifications of what's happening at our southern border right here in Tennessee.
So you're down at the southern border and you're doing a story with WKRN. They give you a call. They're kind of getting an update from the border with you, correct?
They actually came to a press conference that I had yesterday with all of the trip participants, and they were among a group of reporters that was there. I don't think they liked the report that I gave. Didn't fit the narrative, I presume, of what they had hoped to accomplish.
Well, and then they take your words about how we need to deport the people illegally entering our country. And they take your words and they construe it with white supremacists in downtown Nashville. Now, I have the clip of what they ran. I want to play the clip, and then I want to get your reaction. Sound good?
Sure.
All right, so this is WKRN's reporting on Senator Hagerty and, how his views on the border are equal to that, and his views on deportation are equal to the white supremacists in Nashville.
Blocks from where Hagerty spoke, masked neo-Nazi demonstrators chanted anti-immigrant rhetoric over the weekend. Reporters asked Haggerty if his language encourages these types of groups.
Do you believe that your rhetoric could be encouraging extremist groups here in Tennessee?
Let me be clear. I'm not using rhetoric. I'm citing a fact. You tell me 10 million people isn't an invasion, you need to check your facts.
So, Senator, what they do is they take your words and they say, you sound just like those white supremacists. Are you encouraging these people? And I find that absolutely insulting.
I think that, again, they're trying to force a narrative where none exists. What I tried to explain is that 3.5 years ago, we had the most secure border that we've seen at the South. President Trump had implemented the Remain in Mexico policies, the migrant protection protocols. He brought to an end catch and release. He implemented Title 42. He did everything that he could in his power to bring the flow of illegal immigrants to this nation to a trickle, almost a complete halt. Joe Biden comes in and executes executive order after executive order after executive order. This is after he has essentially extended an invitation for these people to enter our country illegally as he's running for office. And people lined up at the border with Biden T-shirts ready to come across as soon as Joe Biden took office. And you remember this, Joe Biden halted the construction on the wall, again, took away all of the policies that had been successfully deployed by our Border Patrol and by ICE. And they have continued to invite people to come into this nation in droves. Well, they have no idea.
And I'll add, he didn't just halt construction on the border wall. He sold the materials that were sitting there waiting to finish the wall.
Indeed.
And I don't know, maybe I'm old enough to remember when they said $8 billion for the wall was too much. And
that's a fraction of what it's costing to house these illegal migrants in the cities now that they're asking for. You look at the numbers that they put into these bills to try to accommodate, quote unquote, the people that they've invited to come here illegally. It's atrocious. And if you think about the national security crisis we're talking about, just in the Del Rio sector where we were earlier this week, 150 different nationalities have been captured this year. That doesn't count the gotaways. And let me make it clear about the difference between the people that are apprehended at the border. These are people coming through the ports of entry. These are people coming in and applying for asylum. They want to be caught because they're going to get the white glove treatment that the Biden administration provides, where they give them a cell phone, they give them cash, and they give them an airplane ticket to wherever they want to go in the interior. No, the people that don't get caught are the ones that don't want to get caught. And these are some very bad people. I'll give you an example if you've got a minute.
Yeah.
We met with a rancher. The rancher's got a 1,500-acre parcel between the Rio Grande River and the Union Pacific rail line that these guys cut across his property and jump on the rail and head to the interior. He showed us his fencing. They cut it every single night. He stopped even repairing it. He cannot run his cattle there now. They've destroyed his livelihood. He told me that one night his wife said, "There's somebody in the kitchen." He walked into his own kitchen. He said there were 20 adult males, all of them military age, eating out of his refrigerator.
Are you kidding me?
Can you believe this? Eating out of his refrigerator. He cocked his gun, told them to leave. He said their response to him was, "We're out of beer. Go get us more beer." He said they finally walked out the door. He thought to himself, they went to his barn. He thought, I'm going to follow him out there and get him off my property. Then he realized he only had 6 shells.
That's
so
crazy.
He calls the authorities. Nobody comes. Later, he tells me 15 Syrians he finds on his property. What are they doing there? Well, they didn't come through the port of entry. They cut the fence and came through that way. You think about this. He found 2 males with their arms zip-tied behind their backs and bullets through their head. Some sort of cartel violence, obviously, going on. That happened right on his property. And then he showed us this. I was just shocked to see American taxpayer dollars going for this. These were comfort stations, as he called them, comfort stations with blue lights that blink to attract the illegals to come there. So they haven't gone through the port of entry. They haven't asked for asylum, but they create these comfort stations for these people who are invading our country. Those comfort stations have charging stations there for them to recharge their phones, water and food. Why do they have to recharge their phones? Because the coyotes and the cartels use pin drops in the GPS system to show them the path to enter our country illegally and go into the interior. They need their phones recharged for that, and we are providing and facilitating that. So you think about what might happen to our nation. We know about the fentanyl overdoses here. the law enforcement, the sheriffs, and the mayors that were with me were telling us stories every day about how it's getting worse and worse and worse here in Tennessee. But if you think about the national security crisis that we're encountering, with Chinese entering, 20,000 Chinese apprehended at our borders, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
The Chinese government knows who exits their country. They're coming here for a very bad reason. The rancher told me he met a man from Belize coming across his property, and the fellow from Belize said, "You better be very careful." And the rancher said, "Are you threatening me?" He said, "No, I'm not threatening you." But he said, "I see you've got children." And he said, "They have emptied the jails in my country, and those people are coming this way."
Jeez.
It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous, and this administration is looking the other way. They're letting it happen again and again and again. And people keep asking me, Bill, why are they doing it? Well, we actually got a congresswoman on record up in New York. She's a congresswoman from Brooklyn, and she said the quiet part out loud.
The
She said,
redistricting.
I need these people. Exactly. I need these people for redistricting purposes, because you know how it works. And I think most Americans are shocked to find this. But congressional districts and electoral votes are allocated not based on the number of citizens, but based on the number of people in a given state.
It's a head count.
Illegals are counted for that purpose.
Yep.
Illegals are counted for that purpose. So I put legislation in place to make certain that only citizens could be counted for the purposes of allocating congressional districts and electoral votes, and the Democrats have done everything they can to prevent me from putting that on the floor. I tried to modify this bill just recently. They would not allow the amendments, the so-called border bill that would have worsened the situation. They use that as they use that as a hook to say, we had a border bill, you voted against it. No, they had something that would have made it worse, and they would not allow me to amend it to fix it. And if you think about it, if we take away the motive for the crime, maybe that would reduce the crimes that are occurring at our southern border.
Well, and this
But
is
right
one
now,
of the
it is a catastrophe.
And this is one of the things that really frustrates me about what WKRN did with you, kind of equating what you're saying about, mass deportations to what white supremacists and Nazis in downtown Nashville, who, for all we know are crisis actors, what they're saying, and you're encouraging them, when really what you're talking about is this danger is coming to every American, regardless of race, religion, creed. Every American is going to deal with what's coming across our southern border, whether they like it or not.
That's absolutely true. And I think what these leftist journalists fail to appreciate is the fact that I represent the people of Tennessee. And the people of Tennessee want to see our border secure. They want to see the flow of fentanyl come to an end into our communities. They don't want their schools, their hospitals, their penal systems taxed with these people that are being shipped in here. What they want is a secure border and law and order back in America. I represent the people of Tennessee, and to suggest that by representing their values that we're all somehow white supremacists, I think is quite an insult.
Amen to that. Now, I understand that a lot of this is facilitated by the Biden administration. A lot of this is coming from the government, but we're seeing a lot of non-governmental organizations, NGOs, helping facilitate this as well. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton asked a state judge Tuesday to shut down charities that house illegal immigrants, accusing them of complicity in smuggling and shielding migrants from detection. How do you feel about that? And is that something that Tennessee can do as well? Because I'm sure as we see illegal aliens coming into our state, there are those same kind of NGOs helping facilitate this under the guise of charity.
Yeah, we've seen it happen already in Chattanooga. The NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that were one of the first to be exposed. You may recall that there were illegal migrants that were being dropped off and after midnight at an airport in Chattanooga. That was exposed early on. Marsha Blackburn and I and Chuck Fleischman, the congressman from that part of the state, were right on it demanding information answers. The Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Health and Human Services gave us no information, still give us no information. But it came out that the NGO where they were being housed was sexually abusing the young people that were being put there. It's a very bad story. We need to have proper vetting for any of these organizations. And what we see, and again, this rancher that I mentioned before told me that they come on his property, these so-called NGOs, and drop off these illegals so they can hop on the train and ride that train illegally again into the interior of the country. These people haven't come through the port of entry. They haven't asked for asylum. They're facilitating the folks that have cut fences and come across, without being seen. And if you think about it, the ones that don't want to be caught probably don't want asylum. They probably don't want a better way of life, so to speak, here. They probably have something else up their sleeve and in mind. And if you look at the extent that these cartels are operating now, I met with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations just yesterday to go over where the cartel operations are expanding here in Tennessee. This is happening all across the nation. The cartels are expanding their influence, and it's not only illicit drugs, it's human trafficking. And I won't go into this on the air, but those stories are absolute atrocities.
No, and you can find those stories online, and it's horrific. And to your point about how the cartels are operating, I spoke with Tom Homan when I was in Arizona, former ICE director, and he said, the cartels have two different prices for how you get across the border. There's a fee to be apprehended, so you can go through the asylum process, and there's a fee to not be apprehended, and that's a much larger fee. And I think that scares a lot of people a lot more than the ones that want to claim asylum.
Indeed. Those are the ones that we are most concerned about. And you remember this, Chris Wray, the FBI director, testified, I believe it was last month, that he has not seen a time when there were more alerts, more national security alerts going off around the nation since 9/11. Again, we don't know who's in our country right now. We don't know what they have in mind, but we're all deeply, deeply concerned that at any point in time, we could have another terrorism crisis right here in our own border. And I tell you who's got to own this, and that's Joe Biden and the Democrats that have facilitated all of this.
Well, and I fear it could be far worse than what people are even really willing to imagine. There's a story going around that a Japanese Yakuza mafioso type was busted by the DEA for trying to smuggle parts to make nuclear weapons.
Yes,
and
it's very concerning.
And to think that these people could be doing that across our southern border, we've all heard the scary stories and the fear porn of suitcase nukes, but this is something that's actually a real threat.
I would say I saw the story about the Japanese Yakuza as well. Deeply concerning that type of activity is going on, that they could even get their hands on that type of nuclear material is deeply concerning to all of us. But I can tell you, I don't know what the threat might be here in America. We just don't have visibility nor information. As I said, Senator Blackburn and I and Congressman Fleischman can't even get the government to share with us who they're sending here. It's just a dark of night type of operation that the Biden administration is running. I'll tell you where I think most of these people are going, and you're hearing the complaints right now. There are citizens leaving blue states like California, Illinois, and New York in droves. A lot of them are coming here to see us in Tennessee, Chris. You think about that.
Yep.
They're leaving. For the sake of congressional districts, for the sake of electoral votes, you think about where the sanctuary cities have been located. New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, L.A. These act as magnets because the sanctuary cities have pledged that they will not enforce the immigration laws that have by definition been violated by those who have come here illegally. You see what's happening in New York. They're breaking under the weight of all of these immigrants that are coming in there. They're kicking kids out of schools and putting illegal immigrants into the schools there. In fact,
that was in a Trump voting district in that school.
Yeah.
Weird.
They're doing that, and they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it for a reason because I think it's very obvious. They're trying to shore up their population for the purposes of retaining those congressional districts. And in fact, the female congresswoman from Brooklyn, that school was in her district, the one that said she needs these illegals for the sake of redistricting. She didn't want to lose her district. So you can see it happening, and you hear these mayors complain. They're screaming to high heavens that they need help. They're not saying that they're going to stop being a sanctuary city, though. Listen to what they're saying. They're not going to turn off the sanctuary city. They're just demanding more resources from people like you and me, more taxpayer resources to facilitate what's happening there in their cities.
No, you're absolutely right.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And then the media doesn't cover it. The media takes what you say and says you're encouraging white supremacists.
Yeah, it's shameless when you think about it in that regard. The way you just phrased it, it's unfortunately true. It's sad that it's happening in our own state. But again, leftists will say anything. It's Orwellian the way they do this. I guess they'd say if I cheer for the Titans and somebody that might be a white supremacist cheer for the Titans too, that makes you a white supremacist.
Senator, don't give the media any ideas, please. Please. Hey, Senator Haggerty, thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome on the show anytime, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey,
All
all
the
right.
best.
It is, God bless. It's 9:24 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at membersnutrition.com. You hear us talking about them a lot. I'm so happy that they're a sponsor because I love their products. Now, think about what's in your body, right? Think about it. Do you take supplements? Do you take vitamins? Do you care about what's going in your body? If you do, you already know what I'm about to tell you. The air we breathe, the food we eat is absolutely toxic and garbage. It's processed. It's awful. But did you know that those toxins can build up in your body over time, suppress your immunity, and your ability to absorb nutrients and fight illness? That excess waste that you're taking on from the air you breathe, from the food you eat, is going to make you age prematurely, feel bloated, feel gross, feel sluggish. But there's a way that you can actually change your body's oil, and it's what Members Nutrition is bringing to the table. It's their Daily Defense Youthful Cleanse. It's going to help you take control of your health, take control of your life, and it's going to give you an ultimate cleanse for optimal digestive health. I've done this cleanse myself twice. It feels great. I looked great when I came into work. Max said, "Is that the cleanse?" I said, "It's the cleanse." He said, "Can I try the cleanse?" I said, here's a couple pills for the cleanse. Enjoy. And he's going to enjoy it. And you're going to enjoy it too. And one of the best things about this, if you do take supplements, if you do take vitamins, membersnutrition.com offers a wide variety. And it's made in the USA, not with teeny tiny little hands in China. It's made right here in America. Go to membersnutrition.com for more.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Let's check traffic, shall we? Right now, Robertson County got some road work that has 24 westbound down to one lane there at Maxey Road. And then here in Nashville, you got a crash, right shoulder block, 40 eastbound, just past McCrory Lane. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And cellular customers across the nation reporting issues like not being able to make calls, text, or access the internet. In a statement to ABC News, AT&T confirming an outage, advising customers to make calls over Wi-Fi, and said they're working urgently to restore service. Verizon and T-Mobile customers reporting issues too. Food prices are making headlines this morning. Here's Andrew Dembert.
The Wall Street Journal reports Americans have not spent this much on food in 30 years. In 1991, consumers spent 11.4% of their income on food. And today, the latest data shows that figure at 11.3%. Overall, inflation has cooled in the past 2 years, but grocery costs are stubbornly high.
Yeah, grocery prices up 1.2% last month compared to the same time last year. But the cost of eating out in restaurants surging much higher by more than 5%. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, 939. Thanks again to Senator Haggerty for stopping by the show. Mac, are you done with your personal call in there?
Yes, I'm done with my personal call.
Well, I see you. You're not answering our phone lines at 615-737-9986. You're on a personal call. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's all good. My fiance, I
Ooh.
should say, which I haven't used yet. That was cool.
That's fancy.
Yeah, that was very fancy. She just called. She was like, "Why is everyone asking me if my phone signal's working?" She's like, "What's going on?" And so obviously I told her,
Lizard people.
lizard people.
Perfect. And was she okay with that explanation?
She was like, "Oh, okay, makes sense. Sweet. See you later. Love you."
She didn't even question if you got that from me.
Exactly.
She just assumed at that
She knows
point.
at this point. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. A lot of people on the Members Nutrition Super Text line have theories about what's going on with the phones in America too.
So good.
Have you seen some of these?
These are great.
All right. So somebody 9988 said fake birds ran into a tower.
So just birds, because all birds are.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
of course.
We get it. We get it.
You don't have to say fake. we know what you're saying. 7854 said too many birds on the lines. Yep, they're charging.
That's it.
They're charging. Kenny said it must be space nukes.
Bingo.
Has to be.
Kevin said it's an EMP from climate change. It's an EMP from climate change. And one of my favorites was Randy said,
"Oh yes,
Chris, my vote is for lizard people creating space weather to stop the Russian space nukes." So it's a little triple.
Yeah, the combination.
That's the thing.
That's great.
And fake birds observing it all from a safe distance.
Fake birds just watching it all happen.
Observing this from a fake distance. Actually, Kevin said EMP from climate change. That one's pretty funny. So I was thinking about doing a bit. Do you remember Kevin O'Leary? He was talking about New York being a loser state.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to do a bit where I'll take stories from different states and we'll have winner state, loser state.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Yes.
So I thought that was a good idea. Couldn't find many winner states.
Well, we're in one, right?
I found a lot of losers. We are.
We're in one of the winners. Okay, that's good.
But then you see the story like they could say Haggerty's encouraging white supremacy.
Yeah.
You know? So it's hard to find the stories. It's not hard to find the winner states.
That's fair.
Hard to find the stories.
That's fair.
That
makes sense.
Fake news is just screaming about Russia. You know what I mean? But Kevin reminded me EMP from climate change. One of the ones I pegged as a loser state as I was trying to develop this bit was Illinois.
Oh.
Yep. Specifically because of Chicago.
For sure.
Okay, and the climate change line jogged my memory. Do you know what Chicago is doing?
Oh gosh. What now?
Chicago is suing oil companies for causing climate change. And they're bringing receipts, actually.
Oh, wow.
They've pinpointed the exact moment, and it's a 1995 heat wave.
Really?
So they're going back. They're keeping score. And then Fox News wants me to join for access to the rest of this content, and I said, nah. Headline's good.
Headline will work. That'll suffice plenty. Thank you.
Headline's fine. It's fake news, so I'm cool. I found another loser state. We were pretty aware of this one. New York. Shocker, right?
Yeah. Surprise.
Armed gunmen robbed New York City Gucci store in broad daylight. Police search for suspects.
And we've had those stories before, right? Those huge designer stores just getting bombarded.
I don't understand. You would think that these designer stores would start operating the way marijuana dispensaries operate.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Like 3 alleged perpetrators were caught on camera making off with an estimated $51,000 worth of luxury goods. All while staff and customers looked on.
Which, by the way, it's like probably 5 items from Gucci, but that's insane.
Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, you're probably right.
It's like a bag and some socks.
Yeah, I don't do the Gucci stuff.
No. I'm good on all that stuff.
Like, if they have it at TJ Maxx,
I'm fine.
I'm with it.
Great.
You know, I was talking to Ken about New York. You know, Kevin O'Leary mentioned it's a flyover state now. I was like, even 10 years ago, it was still like a fun place to visit, you know?
Yeah.
Like I took my wife and my daughter We went to Little Italy. We did Times Square.
Cool.
We do the things. I would never go there now.
Yeah.
It's a shame what's happening. And it's stories like these that make me go, yeah, not going to do it. Surveillance footage shows 3 masked individuals entering a store. Imagine if you're just shopping in New York and just 3 masked individuals come in and like you're visiting, so you kind of freak out a bit. And the locals are like, nah, dude.
Nah, it's all good.
They're going to grab a couple bags and they're going to be out in a jiffy. We'll never see them again.
If they grab the bag you wanted, sorry, just sucks to suck. Move along.
Yeah. So these 3 masked individuals enter the store, brandishing a handgun, pointed at security guard, tell him to stand back. 2 members of the trio move in, jam everything they could get their hands on into giant cloth sacks. Listen, I don't want to give anybody ideas. I would go for the big Gucci bag and fill it with other Gucci bags and just focus on efficiency.
That would definitely be the plan of attack.
Do you know what I mean?
For sure. Absolutely.
Like, it just makes sense. Third suspect was waiting outside with what appeared to be a firearm, bags, and luggage in tow. They all jumped into a black Honda CRV and reportedly drove off into New Jersey via the Lincoln Tunnel. So should we add New Jersey onto loser state as this as
I
well?
think absolutely.
It's a twofer.
Just by association. Sorry.
By association. And so again, I'm trying to do winner state, loser state. It's much easier to get the loser state stories.
Imagine.
Loser state. We're on a run. I have one winner state, but I want to close with good news.
That's fair. Okay, great.
You know,
keep tearing us down with these losers.
It's like I got to build you back up at the end.
Exactly.
So another loser state. I'm familiar with this one, despite what people think. Not from Canada, actually from Massachusetts.
Debatable.
Yeah. Girls high school basketball team forfeits after a trans player injures 3 players on the team.
I saw that.
This dude is just ruthless out there with these girls. I don't know how parents let their kids go through with this. Maybe they don't want to be labeled transphobic, but like, where are the dads to stop their daughters from getting injured in this situation? There's a video that's going viral of a trans athlete who claims that this is a man going to a female, and he's claiming that it's actually, believe it or not, and I learned this, it's actually harder to be a man and play against females.
Oh.
According to this individual.
Being a trans athlete, male to female trans athlete there's no advantage there. Like, it's actually much harder because my testosterone levels are much less than the average, like, cis woman. So I have to actually put in a lot more work, and it's very difficult.
So tell that to the 3 injured high school girls in Massachusetts. The gentleman playing against them did not have an issue. It was not harder. This is actually in the town I was born in. The one of the teams, the coach of Collegiate Charter School of Lowell, Massachusetts, on the birth certificate, girls basketball team made the decision to end the game after watching a 3rd player injured.
Gosh.
Where are the fathers? Honestly. And I don't even think that he forfeited the game because he didn't want people to get hurt. The statement says the bench was already depleted going into the game with the 12-player roster having 4 players unable to play. And when the coach saw 3 more girls go down in the first half, leaving them with 5 players, he made the call to end the game early. So it doesn't even sound like the coach was worried about people's safety. It sounds like the coach said, we're not going to be able to field a team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like a player management decision as opposed to, I can't let my girls keep getting hurt out there. The school wrote in a press release that the charter school playoffs were approaching, and he needed a healthy and robust bench in 4 days. Playoffs? Playoffs?
Wow.
In the video, You can see the trans athlete rip a ball from a girl's hands, and she just falls to the ground, writhing in pain, holding her back.
Eesh.
And they say, oh, they forfeited the game. Not to prevent more of his girls who he should be taking care of and protecting, right? Not because they were getting hurt. He did it because of playoffs.
Yeah, wow.
I hate to break it to you. If this is what's happening in these girls' leagues in Massachusetts, you're going to see more injuries in the playoffs because that's who you're going to be up against. So Massachusetts, loser state. Loser state. All right, I promised one good one.
Yeah, give me this winner.
All right.
Who's our big winner state of the day?
West Virginia.
Hey,
West Virginia.
country roads.
Sing it, baby. Sing it. All right, West Virginia, winter state. A bill that would allow trained teachers and other school employees to carry firearms in K through 12 public schools has cleared the West Virginia House of Delegates. Thank you. Step in the right direction. The initiative, proponents claim, will benefit the poorer school districts who are unable to hire school resource officers. The Republican Rep Dave Foggin of the proposal, he said, evil is a problem, hate is a problem. I would like to be able to combat hate with love, but unfortunately, it will take a firearm if someone else has one. And I say, good. The West Virginia Republican-controlled House of Delegates voted overwhelmingly on Wednesday to allow teachers and other school staff who undergo training to carry guns in K through 12 public schools. The bill now heads to the Senate, and it will allow teachers, administrators, and support personnel with concealed carry permits to volunteer to bring a firearm into school with the intention of using it to defend the school in case of an active shooter event. Designated a school protection officer, the staffer wouldn't receive any additional compensation for doing so. Supporters say not every school system in West Virginia can afford to hire a full-time SRO, and this program provides another option. And I say, even if you can afford an SRO, this makes sense. The schools are massive. Even if you're in a small school, it could take you a minute to get across. And we know how quickly things happen in these situations. So the more that we can make these schools less of a soft target, the better it will be. Now, I want to see something like this in Tennessee, but I think having one state step up and do it, if
get the ball rolling,
we get some evidence, right?
Yeah, get some data. Yeah, that's huge.
You know
You're
what
right.
I mean?
That's a good point.
Let's get some evidence. Just like we're seeing with the fight for school choice, people say it's working in Arizona. It's working in this state. It's working in that state. Well, it took one state to do it first to get the ball rolling and get some data. So you can believe in this thing, but we still have to make the argument. And what West Virginia is doing for us and for parents everywhere is bringing us some data. Because I think this is going to work.
It's working.
Why wouldn't it? Yeah, much better than a gun-free zone sign, I can assure you. It's 9:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Stop and go traffic, 40 eastbound west of downtown. You got a crash blocking the right shoulder there at McCrory Lane. So it's stop and go traffic from the Kingston Springs Ashland City exit there at 188. Looks like a cellular outage. We got an update on that. And the nose at Nashville International Airport. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Can you confirm that it was lizard people before we get to the newscast, Ken Weaver?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh.
Whoa.
All right.
I'm scared, man. I got Ken to my back. I need eyes on him.
Yo, we need to get you a mirror so you can keep. That way when you're
Exactly.
looking forward, you got one eye looking back.
Well, you know, some dragons are bearded.
Oh, jeez. On the way, I don't want to shock you too much. I know we've already talked about lizard people today, but I think what I'm going to do next will shock you. I plan to defend Nikki Haley.
What?
I do.
Boy, this is a weird day.
On the way, it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Cellular customers across the nation now reporting issues like not being able to make calls, text, or access the internet. In a statement to ABC News, AT&T confirms an outage. They're advising customers to make calls over Wi-Fi. Stated they're working urgently to restore service. Verizon and T-Mobile customers, Boost Mobile, and Cricket customers reporting issues too. Now, here's another mid-air incident to tell you about. A plane full of passengers having to change course.
The FBI investigating after a plane diverted because of an alleged bomb threat. A United Airlines flight from Newark to Los Angeles diverted to Chicago. A source telling ABC News the threat was found in one of the plane's bathrooms.
When we landed, they told us that somebody had written a bomb threat on a mirror in a bathroom.
Authorities swarming the plane on the tarmac, passengers getting off safely and loading onto buses.
As Gio Benitez reporting, here in Nashville, the nose knows. 68 pounds of marijuana found in luggage at B&A. Investigators were running a check on luggage on a Southwest flight from Burbank, California, when a canine officer hit on the smell of pot. Documents show pot vacuum sealed inside Ozark Trail and Walmart brand tent boxes. The suitcases belong to 27-year-old Delonte Jackson and 34-year-old Marquoy Motley of Baltimore. Jackson taken into custody at Gate C25, while Motley was found on the plane headed for D.C. Food prices still taking a big chunk out of household budgets. The Wall Street Journal reports Americans haven't spent this much on food in 30 years. We're talking about 11.3% of income. Mark Zandes, chief economist at Moody Analytics.
Egg prices were back up again. Meat products also saw some big jumps. Also, carbonated beverages, soda prices jumped a lot.
Some of the factors could be higher labor costs and record low cattle numbers driving up the cost of beef and steak. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
With the rain coming, it does bring you opportunity. Hey, it's Chris Hand for USS. The guys at United Structural Systems told me once that with their services that they provide, like waterproofing your crawl space in your basement, it's one of those things you don't know you need it until you know you need it. And with the rain coming in this weekend, it's an opportunity for you to see if you need it. Have you been down in your crawl space lately? Well, do yourself a favor. After the rain comes, poke your head in there. Take a look around. Are you going to notice standing water? If you notice standing water in your crawl space, if you see wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, listen, that's your house trying to tell you something, and you should give the guys at USS a call to take a look. They'll come out, assess the situation, make a custom plan for your home, and if you're satisfied with that, they won't leave until the work is done. They'll give you a lifetime warranty. That warranty will stay with your house. It doesn't leave if you leave. And they have 25,000 satisfied customers to back them up and say that the work that they do is top notch. And they've been doing that work in Middle Tennessee since 1994. So again, after the rain comes, take a look in your crawl space. If you see that standing water, call USS 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems, online at USSTN.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Listen, I know that we're having transmitter issues, right? They're working on it behind the scenes. We have a large supply of paper clips, duct tape, tinfoil. I promise you.
Well, we've got the tinfoil on lock. We've had that.
Yeah, and they're not going to take it from our personal stash. So we're working on that. But in the meantime, you can listen to us a bunch of different ways. You can download the apps. We're on TuneIn. We're on iHeartRadio. We have our own app. There's no issues on the streams. You can also watch the broadcast live on SuperTalk TV. Hello to my friends on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and then, I don't know, anywhere else. Is there anywhere else? I think that's it.
Yeah, you go to our website.
Go to our website.
Yep, tune in there.
And
that's it.
If you find yourself that you're a fan of watching live, then you're really going to like hanging out with us, too.
Yes.
And we have an opportunity for you to hang out with us. Super Talk Live, baby. On Tuesday, March 5th. Super Tuesday. That's what the kids call it. Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday, just like
super dope.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
So we're doing that live at Nashville Palace. Starts at 6 o'clock. Whole squad's going to be there. Mac is undeclared. But the rest of the squad is going to be there. Myself, Dan Mandis, Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson. We are going to be hanging out, watching the results come in live. We want you to do it with us. It's going to be an awesome event, totally free to join. And if you reserve your table online, which doesn't cost any money, it's just kind of to give us a head count. But if you reserve your table online at 997WTN.com, you'll be registered to win a massive tailgate package with hot chicken, barbecue, and all the fixings for up to 25 people.
Wow.
And you can
so
win
I
that.
should just go online and register. Well, I mean, I can't, but if you're coming to this thing, I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Hannah could. You're not married yet.
Ooh, you're right. You're right. Loophole. Fact checking.
Fact check that. Read the official rules at 997WTN.com. Like Virginia can't do it because we're married.
Yeah, because you're married. Ooh.
You know what I mean? I don't know, but maybe my kids could win.
That's true. Yes.
Fact check if it's all ages. That'll give me 4 extra entries.
Exactly.
You know? Does corporate have an issue with that?
I know your 2-year-old's a major fan of burnt ends, so yeah, get this tailgate package.
My kids love Trump, so
great.
They are probably going to come to the event and enjoy it.
Heck yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's a little late. Yeah.
Yeah, no. You think I'm a handful. Wait until you see my kids after 8 o'clock. It's like the Cinderella, they turn into pumpkins.
Yeah.
We say that all the time. It's like, it's getting close to bedtime. These kids are turning into pumpkins.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Go to sleep.
You'll find that out down the road now that you have a fiance.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's getting nearer and nearer.
Fiance.
Scary.
Fancy.
Very fancy.
Don't be scared. What are you scared of?
It's scary.
It's not scary.
You're right. Be confident.
Yeah. I mean, sure, you're going to miss some football games.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what's frightening.
Speaking of football, did you hear? Remember we talked about that Fox, Disney, Warner Brothers were creating a streaming sports Goliath?
Yes.
Where it's going to be an all-in-one app, right? And it's going to have everything. All your favorites, like the WNBA. Seriously, the WNBA was included.
It was included.
So the plan was to offer streaming services from sports entertainment across the board, NFL, MLB, NBA, and no prices have been announced on this, but listen to the estimated starting price, $45 to $50 a month. I feel like that's a little high.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that would pay for it.
For sure.
Because I think that
I might do it. Yeah.
a lot of these networks, their solo apps cost that.
Exactly. So getting them all together, like, it's a deal when you think about it that way. But geez, I mean, $50 a month, that's $600 a year.
Where else are you going to watch cricket? Well, it looks like this is going to maybe not go through.
Oh.
Because Fubo TV, the sports-oriented streaming service, is now suing them. They're suing them. Fubo TV goes for $80 to $100 a month, depending on the tier you choose. And they have an emphasis on sports, but they offer non-sports stuff too. They offer like all the stuff for your wife, like HGTV and E.
Great.
So a little bit of both. And they filed a complaint on Wednesday in New York federal court, arguing that these Hollywood studios are engaging in unlawful practices, basically saying they're creating a monopoly in the sports world. Said each of these companies has consistently engaged in anti-competitive practices that aim to monopolize the market, stifle any form of competition, create higher pricing for subscribers, and cheat consumers from deserved choice. That's what the co-founder and CEO of Fubo TV said in a statement. Simply put, this sports cartel blocked our playbook for many years, and now they are effectively stealing it for themselves. What do you think about that?
Dang, that's interesting. I don't know.
From a consumer standpoint, I like the idea of it all being in one spot.
For sure.
I can also see where Fubo's coming from. They're like, we've been trying to do this, and you've been blocking us. Fubo's arguing that it tried for years to offer a sports-only streaming service, but was prevented from doing so by those studios, Warner Brothers and the like, ABC, Disney, and that those studios require it to include non-sports channels. Hollywood studios are now hitting the panic button because of this. So I would imagine that Fubo actually has some standing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds like this carries some serious weight.
But I also feel like part of their argument is you can't create a monopoly because you stopped us from creating a monopoly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right?
Like, hey, wait, that was supposed to be us.
We had the idea to create a monopoly, not you.
You just had the resources and the money.
Does that?
Yeah, no, I can see that too. It's weird because I feel like we're headed back to cable.
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
Everything that's old becomes new again.
Yep.
You hear the Gen Zers like corded phones because they look cool.
Really?
It goes to your point.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Did you ever have a corded phone in your house?
Corded? I don't think our home phone. No, our home phone wasn't corded. It sat on the charger or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Not that I remember. Would have been before me. Yeah.
They were pretty cool.
Sounds cool.
You could spin yourself up in it while you're on the phone and then unspin yourself.
No, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Just like sports used to be.
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Stop.
Sports used to be a lot more fun than they are. Did you hear what Shannon Sharp said? Do you know Shannon Sharp?
Yeah, Shannon Sharp.
Okay, what did he play? It was flanker back, I believe.
He was
a flanker back for the Broncos, right?
Yes, tight end, Hall of Fame tight end for the Broncos.
So he played both positions?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very versatile.
So he said on a podcast, and I thought that this was interesting. He believes players who are the face of the NBA, and I kind of expand it to all sports, but he believes players who are the face of the NBA should be married.
It's interesting.
He was doing this, it was with Stephen A. Smith and J.J. Redick.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And
So this
they
is
all-
like First Take.
Yeah, it was on Tuesday's edition of First Take. Sorry, it wasn't a podcast.
Yeah, they podcast them. It's all the, yeah, no, I got it.
And he was met with a collective, ooh? And they said it took a weird turn. And Sharp unleashed a take that caught his fellow analysts off guard, Breitbart reports. He said, what about relationship status? Magic and Bird were married. LeBron was in a relationship with Savannah. Because when we look at presidential candidates, we want them to be secure. We want them to be foundational pieces. So he wants the face of the NBA to be married?
I guess it's interesting.
I kind of get where he's coming from.
Yeah, I can see the point. I'm just more of like a, sports. If like LeBron James, for instance, I mean, shoot, he was the face of the league by the time he was 19 or 20 years old.
Well, how old was he when he got married? Because he's been with the same girl since high school.
That's true.
I don't think he had any kids out of wedlock. I think his thought process is you want these stars to be good role models for young kids, which I love that idea. I really do. Because you have many athletes that have multiple kids with multiple women out of wedlock, and that's not exactly what you want to emulate to young kids. Right?
No, for sure. I just don't know how, those kids are watching the game, I don't know how often, but I guess they follow him on Instagram. Yeah, so I guess I could see that.
And I would also point out in the NBA, maybe it's a little bit tougher because you can be the face of the league at 18 in the NBA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So I don't know if you have to be married, but maybe just follow a certain path, not have a kid out of wedlock.
It's interesting for Shannon to say that, too, because I don't believe he's ever been married.
Really?
No, he's never been married. And he's talked about that. That's just kind of a choice that he's made. But not that he's a tight end, so tight ends can't really be the face of the NFL. So
Gronk was for a bit.
Bah. You wish.
But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah, that is. It's interesting. I'm more of just like if you're the best basketball player, best football player, then that's great. You've earned that. But I can see where he's coming from. Absolutely. I mean, these guys are role models.
I like the idea of moving towards more conservative values and having that emulated for the youth, because all these kids are watching all of these games. And unfortunately, you're bombarded with woke trash after woke trash after woke trash, from the commercials to the Black National Anthem that happens to the, all the things. And we saw it during the Summer of Love as well. Mike in Nashville has a comment on Shannon Sharp. Mike, what do you think about it?
Well, it's kind of a joke, him saying that. And y'all know he's gay over the $2 bill, right? You know that?
I don't know if that is true.
Yeah.
I've not heard that. No.
He talked about it, yeah. When he was on his other show with Skip Bayless, he talked about being gay. It's kind of funny. And people are scared to call in radio talk shows, TV, and talk about the immorality of homosexuality. It's a detestable sin, and everybody's afraid to say it now. Why is that, you think?
Well, I think the Overton window has definitely shifted on the homosexuality conversation since the early 2000s, and I don't know if Shannon Sharp is gay. I've actually never heard those rumors.
Yeah, I've seen, now that I've Googled it, I'm seeing some rumors. But from what I've heard on his podcast, I've heard the opposites. That's what I'll say here on the radio.
I saw a thing that said Shannon Sharp, this is from Vibe a day ago, Shannon Sharp has addressed comedians who have called him gay since a viral Cat Williams joke.
Gotcha.
And he says it's getting old.
Yeah, so he's like, stop that.
Yeah. That always comes when you're super successful and you don't have a wife, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Yeah.
I mean, they make those comments about Aaron Rodgers too, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah. I also think, if you're some of these guys, I mean, maybe they want to get married, but they're so dedicated to the craft, they haven't, necessarily given that time yet. They're focused on their career until they go to that next chapter. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting point though. It is.
I think that it would be cool to have somebody that would be more conservative and more of a face of the league position for the youth. I recall a guy by the name of Tom Brady. He had a MAGA hat in his locker. That was pretty cool.
He did.
Even your boy, Patrick Mahomes, he's married.
Yep. High school sweetheart. 2 kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I thought the conversation was interesting. And I also do want to point out, I'm still getting a lot of texts. We are having audio issues. We are trying to fix that. In the meantime, you can listen to us on the app, whether it's TuneIn, iHeartRadio, or the 99.7 WTN app. The stream is not having any of those issues. Or you can watch us on SuperTalk TV, which is on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. It's 10:20 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN.
Cellular outages, free school meals proposed in Tennessee. These stories and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So I said I was going to defend Nikki Haley. I want to make sure I pay that off. I don't want to shock anybody.
Yeah, make sure you're sitting down.
So Jen Psaki Okay, you know her, the Circle Back press secretary. She was doing an interview with Senator LaFonza Butler. Okay, we all know LaFonza Butler, right?
Of course, yeah.
So she's a Democrat. She is out of Mississippi, and they're doing an interview, and they start talking about Nikki Haley. I don't understand why. I don't know why. Maybe they're trying to legitimize her in some sort of weird roundabout way. So they're talking about Nikki Haley. And you know how Nikki Haley always says, well, you're going to get a female president whether you like it or not. It's going to be me or it's going to be Kamala Harris. She always says that. She's been repeating that for a couple weeks now. Well, that came up with Jen Psaki and Senator LaFonza Butler out of Mississippi, and they reacted to that.
When you hear people like Governor Nikki Haley say a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris, I mean, I know what I hear. But what's most important is what you hear when you hear her say that.
So you can already tell Jen Psaki is going down the road of racism. I know what I hear. But what's most important is what you hear. Right? You can. She's leading the breadcrumbs.
I know what I hear. But what's most important is what you hear when you hear her say that.
I think that Ambassador Haley is unfortunately perpetuating the dog whistles of divisive politics and frankly should be called on it.
The dog whistle of divisive politics. Well, every time they bring up a dog whistle, it's always about racism, right? So are they calling her racist?
I think that Ambassador Haley is unfortunately perpetuating the dog whistles of divisive politics and frankly should be called on it.
The dog whistle of divisive politics. Listen, I don't know. When she says that, you're going to have a female vice president and it's going to be me or it's going to be Kamala Harris. I think what she's trying to do is bring up the fact that Joe Biden's old and Kamala Harris is the only politician that people like less than Joe Biden. Right? I don't think it has anything to do with Kamala Harris's race. In fact, aren't Nikki Haley and Kamala Harris the same race? Right? Aren't they both Indian American? Because if I recall correctly, Kamala Harris is actually of Indian descent, right? I believe that she's of Indian descent.
She is.
Thank you.
I've got her mother was South Asian and her father is black.
Really? Because I say Harris's maternal ancestry comes from Tamil Nadu, India.
Wow.
So they're saying Nikki Haley is saying that she's racist and using divisive dog whistles when she's saying it's either going to be me, a woman of Indian descent, or Kamala Harris, a woman of Indian descent. Right? Am I keeping score the right way? So that Indian lady is racist because she said something mean about that Indian lady.
And my response to her is, yes, it is. And America has demonstrated that they are ready, willing, and able to support candidates who are experienced, who are qualified, and who have the interest of the American people at heart.
I actually agree with that, LaFonza Butler, senator out of Mississippi. Yeah, we are ready for people who are qualified, love America.
Candidates who are experienced, who are qualified, and who have the interest of the American people at heart.
I just don't agree that Kamala Harris has any of those things that would qualify her to be a leader. The experience, the America's best interest at heart. No. So yes, I'm defending Nikki Haley. Just to balance this out, so that way it's not too jarring. I want to wrap this segment up with Vivek Ramaswamy dragging Nikki Haley through the mud. Okay.
And so I'm going to speak a hard truth that's relevant to the decision South Carolina has to make in about 4 days. That includes a former governor of this state right here in South Carolina, capturing politicians who have built, 50 miles from here, a Chinese competitor that has competed against this business not on fair terms, but because they had special advantages given to them by a Republican governor of this state, that is Nikki Haley.
So Vivek Ramaswamy at an event dragging Nikki Haley for allowing Chinese companies to come into South Carolina, and he really takes her to task.
Who rewarded a Chinese company with land, with tax benefits, and as best we can tell, outright financial incentives and gifts bestowed on a Chinese company to compete against a great American company that's doing the same thing right here at home. That's not capitalism. That is crony capitalism, and that's what needs to end. And this is why I say it's not Republicans or Democrats. It's America first versus America last. That's what's at stake in this election.
Yes, and I would have to agree with Vivek. Nikki Haley is America last. And to the point before, so is Kamala Harris. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Cellular customers across the nation reporting issues like not being able to make calls, text, or access the internet.
AT&T says it's working urgently to restore service to customers experiencing wireless service interruptions. Several cities reported problems with callers getting through to 911. AT&T says it encourages using Wi-Fi calling until service is restored.
That's Brian Clark reporting. And it's not just AT&T, but Verizon, T-Mobile, Boost Mobile, Cricket customers reporting issues too. Right now in Tennessee, the minimum wage could rise to $20 an hour if a new bill passes. Channel 4 says it's been assigned to committees and subcommittees for discussion in the House. In the Senate, it's passed on the first and second consideration and been referred to the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. And free school meals proposed. Bradley County Republican State Rep Kevin Raper, who's a longtime educator, telling News 2.
We give meals to prisoners, but we cannot even give them to our own kids, which to me is just an absolute travesty. We have to find a way to feed these kids so that then optimal learning can take place.
Representative Raper proposing a bill to give free breakfast and lunch for all public school kids in the state of Tennessee. He said they're still ironing out the cost and how to pay for it. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So I have a couple stories here about Ron DeSantis that I wanted to get to today.
Activate hand gesture.
They're activated. And honestly, I like what I see.
Whoa.
I do.
So today with Nikki and Ron, both kind of.
Like sort of defended Nikki.
Sort of. Yeah, let's say half.
Like non-dairy creamer. You know what I mean? All right, so DeSantis showed up for Trump in South Carolina. Says no question Donald Trump will have a massive victory over Nikki Haley. I thought that was good. Campaigning for Trump. We need him. We do. And then there's a couple of bills that are making their way through Florida that I thought were fascinating. The Florida Senate passed a bill to set release of Epstein grand jury documents. So the Florida Senate gave the final approval to a bill that would permit the release of documents relating to convicted sex offender and now deceased Jeffrey Epstein as part of a 2006 Florida grand jury investigation. The bill expands the rules for allowing the release of evidence and or testimony from a grand jury. So what this bill could do is it would allow this grand jury investigation be released because Epstein is deceased. So it notes the court can still issue redactions and other restrictions on releasing testimony, but the results could be that we could see all files related to Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activity made public. And it's fascinating. DeSantis commented on this on Twitter, and he said, and I quote, "All files related to Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activity should be made public while the federal government continues to stonewall accountability. I'm glad the legislature has taken action to release the grand jury material from the Florida state case. I will sign the bill into law." And I thought, this is fantastic. This is the guy who is on offense that should have been running his presidential campaign like this. I don't feel like he ran his presidential campaign on offense the way he runs his state. It feels like the way he governs his state, he's always on offense, but his presidential campaign was far more reserved. So I like this Ron DeSantis. As with all things related to Jeffrey Epstein, it's like I'll believe it when I see it. But I like him going on offense. Also, DeSantis says he's not considering being Trump's vice president.
Oh, he's not considering it.
Well, because at the town hall the other night with Laura Ingraham,
oh yeah,
Trump brought up his short list. DeSantis was on the short list. He said DeSantis told Republicans that people were mentioning me as a potential vice president candidate. I'm not doing that. Not doing that. And he also went in and he said that he doesn't think Trump should be focused on identity politics when it comes to the VP pick. And I think that this is such a good point. Now, take this with a grain of salt because it's from NBC News and it's about a private call with DeSantis supporters. So it's all sources say, you know what I mean? But Ron DeSantis shared his concerns in a private call. And one of the things was about how he thinks former President Trump could play identity politics when picking a 2024 running mate, but he should not. DeSantis said, "We have a diverse Republican Party. I want everybody in the fold. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want people representing 10, 15% of the party being in the driver's seat," DeSantis said on a call with supporters, including those who had committed to serving as delegates for him at this year's Republican National Convention, according to audio obtained by NBC News. He says, "So I would want somebody that if something happened, the people that voted us in would have been pleased to know that they're going to continue the mission. I'm not sure that those are going to necessarily be the criteria Donald Trump uses. I've heard they're looking more in identity politics. I think that's a mistake. I think you should just focus on who the best person for the job would be and then do that accordingly." I completely agree with this. I feel like we're falling into the left's trap when we go, we got to pick a woman. We got to pick a person of color. When you have to fall into those identity politic narratives, that's the exact wrong way to go. That's what the left wants us to do. Like, as much as I like Tim Scott, I don't think he's the right choice for VP. And I don't think just because he's black makes him the right choice for VP. I'm not sure if Carrie Lake, who a lot of people like, is the right choice for VP. And just because she's a woman, I don't think that qualifies her. Do you know what I mean? And I think they're both great. I do. But I think we need a fighter in there. Now, on the flip side, you could probably talk me into Vivek Ramaswamy. And that's not because he's a person of color. It's because I like what he says, and I think he's a fighter that's willing to go on offense. I could probably be talking to DeSantis as VP as well. Especially if he continues down this path of being on offense. Kristi Noem would be good as well. Kristi Noem goes on offense. She runs a great state. She's well-spoken. But I don't think that one of her qualifications is she's a woman. So I agree with not falling into identity politics, but I also agree that, like, don't avoid these candidates because they check an identity politic box. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because we're not just up against Democrats, we're up against the swampiest of Republicans that we can imagine. So we're going to need somebody in there that's a fighter. And especially when it comes to a guy like Vivek, I think that he could fight the swamp. And the swamp is on our side as well. The swamp is the last vice president, Mike Pence. Mike Pence just launched a $20 million effort to defeat populism in the conservative movement. Pence accused some on the right of chasing the siren song of populism, unmoored to conservative principles. That was revealed on Wednesday. Mike Pence's Advancing American Freedom Group is in the process of launching a $20 million effort to defeat unprincipled populism in the conservative movement. Without naming names, the former vice president decried the fact that many in the conservative movement have walked away from these principles, and he promised that his organization would hold high those principles, staying true to the ideals that have made America the greatest nation on earth. Now, he doesn't name names, but I don't think he has to, because you have other conservatives like Paul Ryan bashing Trump and Trump populism. That word keeps popping up around Trump. He says that Paul Ryan says Trump populism is now the establishment. That's what he said in a Wednesday interview with the Washington Post, bashing former President Trump and Trump populism, lamenting that it was now the establishment. He said, I'm in the minority in my party right now. I'm not in the establishment. No. I would like to change that, Mr. Ryan. The establishment in the party is quickly becoming the minority. You are the establishment in the Republican Party, and we are forcing politicians like you and Mitt Romney out. He goes on to say, I'm frankly an anti-establishment Republican. And I think you can safely argue, I don't enjoy acknowledging this, that Trump is the establishment, and Trump populism is the establishment, and that Trump populism is this more isolationist strain that I think is wrong and dangerous, and I don't support. He did admit, though, that does represent a large swath of Republican voters. I think that the party has changed. The Republican Party is moving in a new direction. We are no longer shilling for war in the Middle East like the old establishment Republican Party did. We are the more pro-free speech party. We have energy under Trump, and we're moving in a new direction, and Paul Ryan clearly doesn't like that. He says Trump populism is this more isolationist strain. It's like, yes, America first. That, if you want to describe that as isolationism, that's fine. I tend to think that we have plenty of problems we need to fix here at home, and the establishment Republican Party, which is Paul Ryan, which is Mitt Romney, which is Mitch McConnell, do nothing to fix it and have done nothing to fix it in all of their years in government. And people got tired of it. People said it's time for a change. And I will agree. Yeah, this Trump movement does represent a large swath of Republican voters, but for Paul Ryan to call himself anti-establishment Republican, it's like, no, bro. You are the establishment. Mike Pence is the establishment. In fact, Mike Pence was picked as VP as kind of a nod to the establishment, like we're willing to work with you.
I don't know.
No, we do know. We do know. Ryan also took the time in this interview to bash Tucker Carlson, calling him an infomercial for calling his interview with Putin an infomercial for Putin. Infomercial. He said, that was astounding to me. You know, that one takes the cake, frankly, Ryan said about Carlson's comments, claiming it would build sympathy in America and make it more isolationist, which he called very, very dangerous. Can Paul Ryan go away? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's still so salty he never got to be VP. He's so salty. And all of his efforts have been to delegitimize and bash Trump every step of the way. Tired of this guy. Like, he's not the new conservative movement. He's a neocon. And I, for one, can't wait till he just rides off into the sunset. He shouldn't have any career in politics at this point. Definitely not in the conservative movement. If you want to go hang out with Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, fine. Yep. Give him a show on CNN. Like, that's where Paul Ryan should be relegated to. Mike Pence, too. All of these never Trumpers. And they ignore the fact that Trump is leading in the polls. He's the best chance that we have to win the presidency. And he's up. He's up in Georgia, 48-42. He's up in North Carolina. He's gaining momentum in the black community. He's gaining momentum with the youth vote. He's gaining momentum with the Latino vote. But they ignore all the good. They ignore all that. It's crazy to me. So Mike Pence is getting swampy. Paul Ryan is swampy. And it just, I'm not even surprised. I'm not shocked by any of this. But can these guys go away? Please? You know, and it's no wonder that Paul Ryan will back a candidate like Nikki Haley. She's just as establishment neocon as everybody else. In fact, the most donor money that she's getting, a lot of it is from Democrats. The former UN ambassador has attracted thousands of donations who gave to President Biden during his 2020 campaign. More than 5,200 donors to Biden's 2020 campaign have backed Haley financially, including 1,600 who gave more than $500,000 in January alone. And that's according to Politico's analysis of Haley's most recent fundraising report. She's being bankrolled by Democrats. All of these guys that are so swampy, it's the establishment DC that we need to push back on and get rid of. Haley, you're going to have a female president, whether you like it or not. It's going to be me or Kamala Harris. Yeah, it's the same policy, probably. 5,200 donors who donated to Biden's 2020 campaign have backed Nikki Haley financially. She's just as swampy as Paul Ryan, just as swampy as Mike Pence, and it's no reason, it's no surprise why voters look at her and go, yuck. You know what I mean? You get the same vibe from Nikki Haley that you get from Paul Ryan, that you get from Mike Pence. It's like, no. Way too old school. Like, the party's moving in a new direction. Get with it or get lost. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Cellular service outages persist. Minimum wage bill advances in Tennessee. Free school meals proposed for Tennessee. Some Nashville water bills are much higher. Customers say they're drowning. Details at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A listener on Twitter sent me a news article from Baltimore, WMAR, and it says last night's solar flare did not cause the cell phone outage. So it's got to be the solar flare.
So that means it was. Yep. There you go.
Got to be. You know what I mean? Like, what else could it be?
Guys, read the tea leaves.
Yeah.
Come on.
So listen, I know that our signal is being a little bit weird today. We can only assume it's lizard people, but I want you to know that if you listen to us on the app, tune in, iHeartRadio, or our own 99.7 WTN app, you don't have any of those issues, so you can take us wherever you go, or you can watch on Super Talk TV, which is available on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I miss them? Did I get anything?
I think that's it, man.
All right. It's a lot of options. It's like, I counted 7.
Yeah, and they can just go follow you on Twitter, and they'll click the link to our Twitter and find the stream.
Go link hopping.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right. Hang out with us on the way. Ken Weaver is going to explain what the lizard people are up to with the cell phone service, and we are looking forward to that. Bearded lizards, he said earlier.
Yeah, that's it.
Dragons.
Oh.
I got to get a mirror here, man. I still can't see Ken. I'm scared.
All right. Well, we'll find out what's going on. And I appreciate your text on the Members Nutrition Super Text line at 615-737-9986. I particularly like this one, which I'll provide with no context, from 1261. Paul Ryan is a bum. Fact check that, Mac. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 2 minutes, and still no fix to the cellular outages. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile customers and others are reporting today. AT&T confirmed the outage and advised customers to make calls over Wi-Fi, stated they're working urgently to restore service. Verizon and T-Mobile, according to Reuters, said their network was operating normally, suggesting the outage might be related to customers trying to connect with other networks. Reuters says it has reached out to the Federal Communications Commission for comment. Right now in Tennessee, free school meals are being proposed. Bradley County Republican State Rep Kevin Raper, who's a longtime educator, tells News 2 he's introduced a bill that would give free breakfast and lunch for all public school kids.
We give meals to prisoners, but we cannot even give them to our own kids, you know, which to me is just an absolute travesty. We have to find a way to feed these kids so that then optimal learning can take place.
According to Feeding America, 1 in 8 Tennessee children face hunger. Right now in Tennessee, the minimum wage could rise to $20 an hour if a new bill passes. Channel 4 says the bill, co-sponsored by Knoxville Democrat State Rep Gloria Johnson and Memphis Democrat State Senator Sarah Kyle, has been assigned to committees and subcommittees for discussion in the House. In the Senate, it's passed on the first and second consideration, has been referred to the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. And Metro Water customers say they're getting higher bills. Channel 4 reporting a 3% rate hike went into effect January 1st, which is what they do every year. But a spokesperson says extraordinarily high bills could indicate something else, possibly related to last winter's storm and below freezing temperatures.
But a double or triple bill is very likely due to a leak. We just had some very severe weather. Many people had burst pipes. Some people may have leaks that they haven't even been, noticed yet.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. I'm so excited. Tomorrow is the day. Paul's bringing a new webinar to the table called Politics and Portfolios, How to Invest During an Election Season. It happens tomorrow at noon, live on the internet. You can register for it now by going to paulwinkler.com/election. This is going to be really important because everyone's talking about what the market will do this year. Some say markets typically outperform during election years. Other people are going to be telling you we're headed for a recession and things are about to tank. The problem is that so much of the advice you hear comes from people trying to sell you things. But Paul takes a step outside of the sales process and looks at the academic research. He pulls in historical data. He breaks it down. He brings receipts. And you can register for this new webinar and get all that info at paulwinkler.com/election. Again, it's live tomorrow at noon. But if you can't make it, you can register anyway, and they'll send you a link for the replay. paulwinkler.com/election. Of course, I have to tell you, I'm paid every time this ad airs, but as a client of Paul's, he's who I turn to for all of this kind of info because he can break it down for me in a way that I can understand it. He can do the exact same thing for you. Register for this workshop now at paulwinkler.com/election. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I've been wanting to talk about this. I'm pretty excited. Kirk Cameron, big fan of Kirk Cameron. You know Kirk Cameron?
I do because I've worked here for a couple of years and I've had to look him up. But before this, I did not.
You
To
didn't know?
be
Really?
honest, no, I did not.
I can't remember the name of the show he was on. Growing Pains.
Growing Pains. Yes. A little bit before my time, so I just didn't.
DJ Tanner's older brother in real life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
Definitely know DJ Tanner.
Super smart guy. I actually got to see him speak at my church. He filled in one weekend for Alan Jackson at World Outreach Church.
Oh, nice.
Huge fan of Kirk Cameron.
Cool.
Just seems down to earth, and his heart's in the right place. He's actually launching a new TV series. And,
Okay.
and I'm pretty excited about this. It's called Adventures with Iggy and Kirk. And it's an innovative new TV series. And he says he's doing it because American parents are sickened by woke Hollywood. Oh, it speaks to my core because I can't tell you how sickened I am by woke Hollywood, and I check all the boxes. Am I a parent? Yes. Am I an American? Yes. Am I sickened by woke Hollywood? Ding, ding, ding. All the boxes have been checked. All of them. All of them. Now, for the past couple of years, Kirk Cameron has been doing these book series, right? And he's been doing the readings for kids in public libraries. He did one in Hendersonville. He's been doing them all over Tennessee. And he says parents and grandparents are tired of their children being attacked by the woke wolves of Hollywood. And this is why he's continuing to work with Brave Books and dive further into the world of children's entertainment. I love that we're creating this ecosystem of non-woke entertainment for kids. You have a lot of options now. You have Yippee, which is all Christian programming. It's an app that you can get on Roku. My kids love it. You have Bent Key, which is an app for children's programming from the guys of the Daily Wire, which is awesome. I love it. And I think it's cool to have kids be able to have that discovery ability to go find a show they want, flip through an app and find that on Saturday morning and get, that same kind of entertainment that we got. Not to just sit in front of the TV all the time, but on those rainy days, I always tell my wife with the TV, it's like we have to remember to use it as our tool, not their pacifier. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's a rainy day and we want to put on a movie, that's perfect, but that's our choice, not really the kids. But to have that entertainment that aligns with our values is so important, and it's why I want to tell you about this. He's putting together a new, innovative, live-action children's TV show called Adventures with Iggy and Mr. Kirk. And he says it's going to combine the timeless moral teachings of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with modern energy, hilarious dialogue, and animated stories and surprise guest stars for what he calls a captivating experience for children and parents alike. And one of the cool things about this is he's actually crowdsourcing the whole show. So it's going to be for good families that are looking for entertainment they can trust, financed by good families looking for entertainment they can trust, and it's stories that teach biblically based moral values, which is amazing. Even if you don't, even if you're not a Christian, I think that we can all agree that biblically based moral values are a good foundation for kids. So you can actually support this show if it's something that you want to get into at adventures at bravebooks.us. You can find out how to back this project. They're trying to raise a little bit over $1 million. It's about $1.25 million. They have about $200,000 funded. They have all of episode 1 funded, and they have half of episode 2 funded. So you can go to the website. You can go and donate. You know, on the website, they say the problem that we have is we can name, as parents, and I love this because it's so true, off the top of your head, you can name a dozen movies or TV shows that you would not allow your children to watch. But how many can you name that you would, without reservation, want your children to watch? Not let, want. On the website, it says it's hit the point now where there are over 250 LGBTQ characters in children's TV shows. Even recently, Coco Melon, which is just a sing-along for babies, featured a same-sex couple. You had Disney movies like Lightyear have same-sex kissing scenes. Strange World, which is another Disney movie, featured a gay teen romance. Even Blue's Clues taught children about the LGBTQ flag. It's just indoctrination. And we have to remember that we can take control of this as parents, and this is another one of those arenas. Kirk Cameron was promoting this last night on Timcast, which is it's a live podcast that you can watch on YouTube weeknights. I think it airs at 9:00 Eastern. And I like Timcast. I usually catch it way later. But I caught him talking about his book and talking about his TV series, talking about his books, and how it's important as parents to say, you know, let's play the long game, because communists play the long game. They've been playing the long game for a while now. And we should take these small victories and realize we need to play the long game.
You're reminding me the importance of playing the long game. You're just talking about how much we want instant gratification. We see something like this, or we see the January 6th tapes, or we see something else, and we say, boom, we want justice to be served right now. But what I see the Marxists have done, the leftists have done, the progressives have done is they're really playing a long game, and they say, hey, let's get a hold of public education and let's just work this for a really, really long time. And you might have think, well, it's not working. No, it's working very, very well. It's establishing the crack in the dam that ultimately will bust the whole thing open. But you've got to be willing to play the long game. And I think often conservatives aren't doing that, but I see the other side doing that very well.
And as conservatives, I think we do need to get in this arena of playing the long game. You know, if you have family members that are more woke and they have kids, maybe as conservatives we start playing the long game and we get them these more conservative books for birthdays. You know, the Tuttle Twins, the Kirk Cameron books. Maybe that's where we put our focus. Maybe we buy kids a subscription to Yippee for the year. Maybe we get them a year of Bentkey as a birthday gift, and start playing that long game, because we need to be on offense here. And we have to acknowledge that little wins, you know, they really add up. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? But it's important. It's important for moms and dads and grandparents to be aware of this, be aware of the alternatives. And last night on Timcast, Kirk Cameron had a message to moms and dads.
For the moms and dads out there who feel like, what can I do? I don't have a podcast. I don't have a television show. I don't have a bunch of influencers on this platform. But you know what? playing the long game as a mom, as a dad, as a grandparent, I think is one of the most powerful things we can possibly do. I mean, what does everybody want to do? They want to get to the children. They want to get to the children through TikTok, Instagram, through Snapchat, through public schools, through whatever, because whoever has the time to tell the stories and set the values in the hearts and minds of children gets to control the future.
Yeah, and if we're playing the long game as parents, then we're going to dictate that future. We're a generation away from fixing the country. Do you know what I mean? Just like we're a generation away from losing it, we can be a generation away from getting back on track. And it starts with the kids. It starts with these small little steps. I actually saw a story out of Florida, which, you know, I see this story, and I'm not sure how it works in practice, but I do think that in theory, this is another one of those long game steps. So the Florida Senate passed a bill that would ban children under age 16 from using social media. It cleared the chamber with 23 yays, 14 nays. It breezed through the Florida House of Representatives last month with overwhelming support. So now it's headed to the desk of Governor Ron DeSantis for his signature. There are doubts on how this will be enforced. There are doubts. And me personally, I'm like, I don't think it's enforceable. But these are those little incremental steps of winning the long game, right? DeSantis previously said he agrees with the sentiment behind the bill, but he fears it may not hold up to legal scrutiny. He agrees that these platforms, these social media platforms, are a net negative for youth. And they are. They're absolutely a net negative. I think as a parent, one of the best things that you can do is hold out as long as humanly possible. I see parents out there that make an Instagram account for their kids. I'm thinking, why? That put their kids on Facebook. Why? Why? You know, we were so lucky as kids because we would have our youth circle, you know, like our friend circle at school. Then we'd have our neighborhood friends. And we'd be able to leave school and whatever embarrassing thing you did that day, and you'd get home, you'd have your neighborhood friend, and he wouldn't have known what happened in school. You get away from that noise. With the social media, all of that separation is gone. You don't get to leave your friend group. You're dealing with that embarrassment when you get home over the weekend. It goes on and on and on. So I think that this bill that just passed in Florida that is headed to DeSantis' desk to ban social media for kids under 16 is a step in the right direction. It could be a net positive. I don't know how it's going to work. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try this kind of stuff. Because the flip side is we allow them on social media and they're indoctrinated by the alphabet mafia. The flip side is we let them watch whatever they want on TV and they're indoctrinated by the alphabet mafia. And we see just this social contagion continue to grow out of control. I think a lot of people are waking up to it. Do you know who I think is going to radicalize parents in this country against the alphabet mafia? It's going to be surprising to you. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is going to radicalize parents pretty soon. Dr. Phil went on the Joe Rogan podcast. And he had a lot to say about the left and about this the transgender kids surgeries that are happening en masse in our country. And I think that there's a group of people who value what Phil says, but are indoctrinated to leftist ideology. You know, Dr. Phil was an Oprah guy. You know what I mean? He has a wide audience that probably don't know a lot about the transgender issue with kids and in schools and on social media. And he says a lot of things in this Joe Rogan interview that I think we need to acknowledge that this is going to be a big win for us, because he says he has some shows coming out that are going to deal with this. But he speaks a lot of truth. He talks about, what we're up against and how the left manipulates language.
It's interesting they choose words like gender affirming care. That's interesting that they call it that, but really what they're talking about is hormonal therapy or sex reassignment surgery on children. And in fairness, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Endocrine Society, or whatever the exact name of that is, all of the major medical associations have signed off on this, Joe. They've signed off on it.
Yeah, with no data. No data to back it. No long-term studies. None of that. They signed off on it, Joe, he says. They signed off on it, yes. But he admits they signed off on it with no data.
I have never seen those organizations sign off on anything with less information as to whether or not it does long-term harm of anything in my life. And when I ask about that, when I bring that up, then they immediately label you as transphobic. And I thought that the deal was first do no harm. Yep. And all of the European countries, Sweden, Norway, they've all stopped doing it because they say, we cannot say in good conscience that this does no harm.
No, you can't in good conscience say it does no harm. But the leftist ideology has permeated everything. Like on Kirk Cameron's site for this new show, he says, over 250 LGBTQ characters in kids' shows. Blue's Clues, Coco Melon. They're trying to make this normal. And it's not. It's dangerous. Dr. Phil says he has some shows coming out about this. I think you're going to see a lot of suburban females go, whoa. Whoa. Because the goal should have been do no harm. That's what the goal was supposed to be for the medical industrial complex. But then they got blinded by money.
Because it does harm. If you look at the long-term consequences, if someone changes their mind at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, they can't decide which pajamas they want to wear at night. And their reason for doing it is it stops this drive for suicide, that there's a suicide epidemic. It doesn't fix that. It doesn't fix all the comorbid issues that come along with feeling like they're in the wrong body. But yet they're pushing this, and we're going to do some shows that are already taped that are revealing what the real results of this are. And I think people are going to be shocked that these medical organizations have signed off on this. I think they've just given in to the pressure.
I don't think they just gave in to pressure. I think they gave in to the almighty dollar. Because what these surgeries do, they create customers for life. Phil is going to be prescribing red pills on his show coming soon. Dr. Phil, he's got his prescription pad ready. Red pills coming your way. I got more audio from this. He goes in on teachers. He goes in on the social contagion aspect of all this. I'm telling you, Dr. Phil, it's the weirdest. What a weird time we live in. Dr. Phil is going to shake people awake. My bingo card for 2024 is absolutely screwed at this point. I'm telling you. I'm not winning. I didn't have any of this. It's 11:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Investigations launched into the cellular outages today, and Tennessee has a minimum wage bill advancing in the General Assembly. Housing demand higher so far this year. These stories are more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I appreciate all the messages on the Members Nutrition Super Text line at 615-737-9986. I particularly like 9606. Dude, fix your transmitter. Yeah. We're
You bring your
skipping.
toolbox? What are you doing, man? Come on, get out there.
Listen, I know that the radio is skipping. We have our best people working on it.
Yes.
Mac, just hit that big red button that says reboot.
No, God.
Do you know that at one time I accidentally unplugged my radio station in Pittsburgh? Live on the air.
Oh my God.
There was a computer that wasn't working. And he's like, just pull that plug out. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, sweet.
All right.
Boom. Everything goes down. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, you told me to pull the plug.
Yeah.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
Like, I was like, and then I looked at him. I'm like, how do you have the entire radio station here on one outlet?
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like that's a you problem, not a me
exactly.
problem. So, anyways, I know that the radio transmitter is not, doing what it's supposed to do. TB on the Super Text line says, Soros is sabotaging our feed. Oh, I knew it was him. So you can listen to us other ways. You can listen on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. Somebody said that on iHeart it's skipping as well. So I don't know. Try TuneIn. Try our 99.7 WTN
That'd be
app.
weird, but...
And if that doesn't work, you can always watch the show. Hello, if you are watching, we appreciate you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Super Talk TV, that's why we have it there. I want to mention real quick one more time, another Super Talk live event happening on Super Tuesday, March 5th. You can come hang out with us live at the Nashville Palace. We're going to be doing it starting at 6 o'clock. Myself, Dan, Brian, Matt Murphy. We're going to be taking in all the election results of Super Tuesday, and we're going to be doing it with you thanks to our sponsors at the Glock Store, Shoot270.com, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and our friends at MembersNutrition.com. We got more on the way of Dr. Phil red pilling the masses. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Americans reporting nationwide cellular outages. AT&T, Cricket Wireless, and other providers. 73,000 customers reporting AT&T's outage. Cricket Wireless, which is owned by AT&T, had more than 9,000 outages. Verizon, 2,000. T-Mobile, more than 1,400. Boost Mobile had about 700. So far, no reason's been given for the outages, but sources briefed on the situation telling ABC News the FBI and Department of Homeland Security are among the federal agencies trying to determine if these outages were the result of a malfunction or something more malicious like a cyber attack or hack. Right now in Tennessee, Tennessee's minimum wage could rise to $20 an hour if a new bill passes. Channel 4 says that bill's been assigned to committees and subcommittees for discussion in the House. In the Senate, it's passed on the first and second consideration. It's been referred to the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. And housing demand higher this year. Existing home sales increased by more than 3% in January compared to December. National Association of Realtors says sales sped up in the Midwest, South, and West, held steady in the Northeast. The number declined from January of 2023, but prices did not. The median sale price for an existing home is up 5% from a year ago to $379,100. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You heard the weather guy there. It's going to be warm. It's going to be cold. It's going to be warm. It's going to be cold. Is your HVAC system working the way it should be? If it's not, it's past time to get your system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You don't want to wait for that problem to pop up with your heat or AC this time of year. Be proactive. Keep your unit in tip-top shape. Tippy-toppy shape. Whether you need that annual maintenance, repair, or replacement plumbing, heating, or air system, the guys to call are Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Because if you do need to replace your system, you won't find a better value on replacing your system. The guys at Busy Bee will offer up to 12 months, no payment, no interest with approved credit, and it'll pay in so many ways to sign up for that annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air system from Busy Bee. For added rewards and savings, you can always sign up to be a Beehive member. That gets you front-of-the-line service if anything ever goes wrong. Thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems. No overtime charges, 24/7, plus 10% off all repairs. It'll pay for itself to be a Beehive member. Plus, the guys at Busy Bee will come see you on Saturday. Those convenient hours are always there for you for the maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in the cold or you'll never have to deal with the heat. Busy Bee, your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online at busybeehvac.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. All right, Mac, explain to me the pictures that our engineer sent to us.
I mean,
so we found out what's causing the issue with the skipping.
Yeah, he said it has nothing to do with engineering or transmitter. Said there's fiber laying on top of the backhoe. Might be solar storm related. And then it shows that there's a line down. They're out in this field. They've got...
I'm showing it on Super Talk TV.
Bunch of construction guys. There it is. Yep. Bunch of construction guys dealing with a line that's down. So
I sent an email back. I said, do you need me to send our friend Dave in Hendersonville out there?
Dave could probably figure it out.
Listen, I don't know exactly what Dave does.
I don't either.
I just know he gets things done.
I just know he's working, man.
So we have options. You know what I mean? We have guys that are willing to step up.
So at least we know somewhat the genesis of the issue. So hopefully we can figure this out.
So,
but we are aware. I promise. We are well aware.
But we've now ruled out George Soros, lizard people, solar flares. What else did we rule out? Space nukes. Birds. Well, I don't know.
Actually, you're right. I don't know if we ruled that out. Don't be too soon.
Who took down the power line?
Exactly.
You know.
So in that case, lizard people still on the lookout.
Lizard people are in play.
Exactly. Yes, still in play for sure.
You're telling me lizard people are in play.
And we are getting texts though. iHeart is clear. Multiple texts on that. Our WTN app, absolutely flawless. So if you're having issues with the actual radio, those things will be perfect for you. Plus Super Talk TV.
Yep. So you can listen on the app at iHeartRadio and TuneIn. Or you can watch us on Super Talk TV. Hello, I'm waving on Super Talk TV if you're watching. Bev texted in, said, tough luck today, guys. The signal has the China virus.
China?
Yep. We do. We got a bit of the Wu flu.
TB says, why can't it be an attack by laser cats?
Nobody said it wasn't.
Okay.
Nobody said it wasn't.
Fair enough.
Nobody said it wasn't. Could be anything.
That's the kind of thinking we need to get to the bottom of it, though.
8335 said, unfortunately, you are coming in flawlessly in Franklin.
Nice. Slam.
Anecdotally speaking, we're the number one show in Franklin. All right, I wanted to play more of this audio from Dr. Phil, who is just dropping massive amounts of red pills on the Joe Rogan podcast. I didn't know that Dr. Phil was the hero we needed. I didn't, but he is. And he's talking a lot on this podcast about the harm in the child sex change surgeries, in the hormonal therapies that they're prescribing children. And I think that Dr. Phil is going to be an unlikely hero in this situation. He tells Joe Rogan that he has some episodes coming up on his program about this. And I say an unlikely hero because if you think about people that watch Dr. Phil, the majority of them migrated from the Oprah audience. That's where he had an audience, right? They migrated from Oprah. They watched Dr. Phil as well. He's that, suburban mom afternoon show, right? Is that, you would classify it that way?
100%.
Like that's his audience.
Yep.
Middle-aged women.
Yep.
Which is exactly the type of audience that the conservative right has some of the toughest time with. The ladies that watch The View, I would argue, probably also watch Dr. Phil. That's probably fair?
Yeah, I'd agree.
You probably have some crisscross on that audience?
Probably.
So the fact that Dr. Phil has been red-pilled on the transgender kids issue, I think is huge. And he has this conversation with Joe Rogan, and it really exhibits to me how red-pilled he is on all of this. They even brought up laws in Canada where in places like Ontario, kids don't need parental consent for medical interventions in this realm of hormonal therapy or gender-affirming care, as they like to put it. And Dr. Phil flat out says, it's coming here next.
He said there's no such thing as parental rights in Canada. Children have rights in Canada, and those kinds of policies restrict the rights children have. This is a wild thing, man. It's I've never seen anything like it.
But America's not far behind that because I've talked to a lot of teachers, and they're telling me that they have a duty to the children, that if the child is not ready to talk to their parents about this, that it's okay for them to keep a secret from the child. Now, let me tell you what my problems with this are and see what you think. First off, if this is either a psychological phenomenon or a medical phenomenon, and the teachers are not trained in either psychology or medicine, they're not any more trained to deal with that than they are to take out the kid's spleen in the homeroom. So if that's true, if it's a psychological thing, if it's gender dysphoria, or it's a medical issue, then you need someone trained in child psychology, psychiatry, or medicine.
I love the way he puts this. He says, listen, these teachers aren't trained in this. And I've never heard somebody say it as clear and concise as him. Even if you want to say that the teachers have the best interest of the kids at heart and they're trying to save lives, you're not trained in that. You're not a medical doctor. You're not a psychological doctor. You have no business in this. Teachers are not trained for this. And he goes even a step further. He says, and at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're teaching kids to keep secrets from their parents.
Secondly, it's teaching the child to keep a secret from their parents. It's teaching deception and interfering between the child's relationship with their parent. Now, their issue with their justification for that is, well, if the child goes home and announces this, or if we tell it to the parent, then the child could get abused, the child could get judged, the child could get kicked to the curb. But they have to admit, statistically, that is very rare. And if that's the case, that's what we have Department of Child and Family Services for. That's what we have Child Protective Services for. If that's the case, then you call in for some intervention if the child is being abused at home for whatever reason. Then you get intervention in that way. But you don't come between the child and their parent. The parent has the right to know what's going on.
Amen. And it seems like so often in society, it's like the state knows better. The teacher knows better. And it seems like media and the leftist public education system have been slowly trying to drive that wedge between kids and their parents. Kids and their parents. Oh, your parents don't understand. Your parents don't understand that. And it seems like they've been grooming kids in this direction. I think that if Dr. Phil goes, and I know that a lot of his audience probably doesn't watch the Joe Rogan podcast, but I think if Phil goes on the air and does all this on his TV show, it's going to be eye-opening. If he goes on the air and talks about what's really behind all this, there's going to be suburban women that wake up that wouldn't have woken up otherwise.
In your life, in my life, there was never all this talk about trans children. Like this, it seems insane that we've forgotten the kids don't know what the is going on yet.
I think a lot of it is owing to social media platforms and the internet. I think this is what I'm talking about when I say the activist, I don't think speak for the community at large. I think they get an agenda that they're pushing, and I think they really get wrapped up in this, and it gets a lot of oxygen on the internet. It gets a lot of oxygen on social media platform.
Yeah, and I think that the activism part started, when gay marriage was legalized. You had a lot of these nonprofit organizations that had to look for the next cause to spend these dollars on to keep the nonprofit going, because the cause that they had been fighting for was no longer the cause. And the next fringe element of society was this transgender issue. And it was a cause that a lot of people got behind. And again, I think it's a lot because of money. 6536, 9849 said Dr. Phil left off the social-based aspect, not just medical or psychological. Social is a bigger driver. Well, I'll tell you, 9849, he's actually red-pilled on the social contagion aspect of this as well. And Phil tells Joe Rogan that there is a social contagion aspect to all of this.
Now, they say there's no social contagion here, but the girls that are claiming to be transgender, that percentage has gone up. Some reports say it's gone up 800%, 1,000% over the last several years. And they say, well, that's because they feel more comfortable talking about it now. Is that true, or is it because you read about it, you see it on social media, and you think, well, I can distinguish myself in this way? I think there is a social contagion effect. So people jump on the bandwagon, and if it's for a short period of time, but they've done things that can't be reversed, I think that's really tragic. And they say there are very few detransitioners. I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot more detransitioners that want to reverse this and come back.
Yeah, there are a lot of detransitioners that want to reverse this. There's subreddits about this where people want to detransition and they get shouted down and silenced and blocked. It goes against the narrative. But he's right. There's absolutely a social contagion aspect of this. And it's on those social media platforms that you're letting your kids on. It's on the Instagram. It's on the TikTok. Get your kids away from it. Seriously. Matt Murphy's going to join us next. We're going to talk about what's coming up on his show. And listen, I know that the station is having skipping issues. We're working on it. We are. 6536 on the Members Nutrition text line said, it's a sad state of affairs when the potholes have gotten so bad that they make the radio skip. See, it's not our fault. It's the potholes. Everybody, what's up with the radio signal? Well, listen, guys, we're working on it. I know that there's some issues. The guys are out there in full force. But if you listen to us on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, no skipping. If you listen to us on the 99.7 WTN app, no skipping. If you watch us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, SuperTalk TV, no skipping. And you get to see me and Mac.
Yeah, come on.
How much of a bonus is that?
How much more do we need to convince you?
I mean, that's it right there. It's 11:49 on SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by Matt Murphy.
I've got good news, everybody. I've got great news. I have great news. Not that you can hear me if you're listening on the radio, but I've got great news.
What's your news?
Okay, so I went out to the transmitter.
You did?
I did. I went out to the transmitter site, and I opened up the door, and the transmitter snowman, his little hat had blown off. So I put it back on. So we should be right as rain anytime, any day.
The magic has been restored.
His little shoelace was untied. I tied his little shoelace. I put the little bird's nest back in its proper place. I fixed it.
Did you?
No, not really.
Oh.
How's it going, Chris?
It's good. So I didn't mean to take away your interview with Haggerty that Dan tried to give you this morning.
I just thought, hey, look, and I'm gonna, for all of you that are watching Super Talk TV for the first time, you're about to get a very special. So the thing that made me laugh was when Dan was trying to figure it out. He was short on time, and the senator was calling, and what do I do? What do I do? And he looked at you and said, do you want him? And you did this. You went, that's what you did. And not that it was a great conversation, what I heard of it.
Yeah, no, it was great.
But it was a good conversation. But I just thought it was funny. And then so Dan's like, he just leapfrogs you. It's fun.
I thought it was even funnier.
I love it.
Did you just leapfrog me?
I mean, like it's just
quick.
I mean, jiffy quick and in a hurry. I thought he was going to run over to the sports station and ask the sports station if they want to interview Bill Haggerty.
Want to talk to Bill Haggerty? And then you said I had resting fart face.
It was. I said fart face. Dan Mandis said resting fart face.
Yeah.
I don't think you have resting fart face.
Thank you.
I thought at that moment you had a little bit of a fart face.
Like the bitter beer face.
Yeah, like the guy on the Jägermeister bottle. Remember that? So smooth. Anyway, so there you go.
What do you got coming up on the show today? Anything fun?
Just a lot of things that people will hear half of. So I've got I've got Kevin Sorbo who's in town.
Hercules.
Hercules is in town, and he's gonna swing by via phone at 12:15, and then Cameron Sexton at 12:35 to talk about the education bill that's supposedly dropping today.
Don't leapfrog Hercules. Kevin Sorbo's a beast. I love him.
A beast.
What are you guys talking about?
He's at Opryland today for the National Association of Christian Broadcasters or Religious Broadcasters. That group's out there, and so he's out there for that. And
Trump's going to be there.
We're gonna Trump's going to be there. We're going to find out if Kevin's going to get a chance to shake the man's hand and see what's up.
There's a VIP event. Do you know what it is to take a picture with Trump?
Oh, I don't know, but let me guess. I would guess for a photo opportunity, it would be $2,000.
I think it was like $23,000 I saw.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it was like $1,000 to get in, $6,000 for the exclusive VIP stuff.
Wow.
$23,000 for a photo. I'm not knocking the man. He's got a fundraise.
No, look, you gotta make some money.
No, and he doesn't get that Democrat money like Nikki Haley.
That's exactly right.
So it's a little bit more of an uphill battle.
So, and maybe Trump will call. You never know. You never know. He's in town. Why not?
Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Call me Trumpy Trump.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. New concerns over in vitro fertilization in Alabama after the state's Supreme Court ruled